as being very, very effective of showing commonalities of issues that we might be facing in this struggle of displaced students, struggle of disasters, struggle of just learning and developing ways we can combat the issues that arise from it. And from there, we figured that you would have to invest in data visualization because not everyone comes from a data analytics background like I do, so you're not going to be able to look at all these numbers and understand what they mean. So making it into a language that everyone can understand, even if there's a language barrier. If there's not a language barrier, but you just are far removed from that research perspective or anything like that, data visualization is what you need to do, and from there you refine your solutions and figure out, this worked, the numbers show it works, there's no big issue with the qualitative analysis that we've done, we haven't seen this problem, these students aren't saying that this is a problem, so we can step back from that issue and we can redirect our view into this issue that we see is a common problem, common thread.
Okay. Anything else that anyone?
I think we just thought too, like the programs that we kind of were visualizing would, like they wouldn't just help create data so we can evaluate what we're doing, but it's also a way to actively play out what our goals are, what we stated before. So like the mentorship or like leadership program, doing something like that is like an active way to be able to help facilitate connections and the networking that we've talked about before. It's an active way to be amplifying the student voice, like we talked about, is so important to actively be working with the emotional and mental needs that students have, whether it's a displaced student or someone who's working in research and working at a practitioner level within their education or institution. But it's also like through those conversations of a mentorship program, we're also connecting data to figure out where are the gaps that we haven't met yet, what are the new needs that students are talking about. So it's like it's not just meeting our goals, but it's also working to evaluate at the same time.
Right, and that aligns with nurturing spaces for the student
Yeah.
community to be built. Okay, so what I'm hearing is let's go from the macro to micro. Let's identify who can be those facilitators, those regional advisors, who then kind of work with the advisors or the key people in the institutions, and identify what spaces, what offices, departments in the institutions can already provide this support, whether it is an office for international student support, whatever it may be, and they will also be able to facilitate the data collection, which will be both qualitative and quantitative, to incorporate experiences, and to really be able to understand from a holistic perspective. But I lost my train of thought. But making that the data also available to everyone and making it something that everyone can understand. So in terms of access, that's also important. If we want that link to the community and to everyone being able to understand what's happening. Is that more or less?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like establishing a database would be really, really beneficial because if you could have a whole spreadsheet of students who were displaced, have their contact information, have where they went from to where they are now, and be able to have that network and that communication would be the most beneficial thing.
So yeah, so it would be quite like a longitudinal database that has all these different components. Okay.
And with the mentorship program, we're thinking like you start with a student who has been displaced, and then whoever they mentor becomes a mentor after they leave. So that's a cycle.
To kind of that sounds great. Thank you. All right. Are you all coming up? Let's do it. Just so you know, we have to be out of here in 15 minutes.
But I just played off like I did.
Okay, go ahead.
We made a list. So we kind of started from the last bullet point, and we thought about formalizing the network that we have. We thought that's listserv where we get emails regularly just to kind of keep this in our minds and then sustain the work that we've done here, just so it's not another year goes by and kind of don't sustain this activity. It can also be done in the Slack space and or some other platform that's kind of social, but meant for projects. And some measurements can come out of it. You have a list of people, that list can either grow, it can dwindle away, and it'll let us know how strong the network is working. And just basic activity, people sharing papers, right, sharing photos when they're on the field. So that would be one way we could do that. And then we kind of started thinking about the database component as well. And brought up there's a geographic component to what we're doing. We're doing research in a few different places, and then we're all from different places as well. So we thought maybe that links to your data visualization that you guys brought up. That would be a component that could house all this different work. And it would be one way to visualize it very neatly. And if you click on it, it could link to other databases. You could have descriptions of the research that's going on and who's doing it. In terms of the first point, developing a common language, we thought of making a glossary of terms that's open and people can access. That's something I know probably I'm involved with. We ended up having to do it from a lot of different disciplines, and we definitely got stuck as soon as we started working on resiliences and adaptive capacity, and we started with this list. I think the exercise is pretty helpful, and somebody I've got idea was to make this glossary. The third idea, we piggybacked off of something that was mentioned in this morning's opening statements or opening panel about conference proceedings. So assuming that that RISE is going to start some kind of something in written form as an output from these conferences, we thought we could have a student section that's something in the order of a student synthesis report. Farzana brought up, she kind of sees these two different branches and the types of work we do. There's people doing work on the ground, either they're in the field doing research, or they're in the field helping out in some sort of project, or they're doing research from abroad. So we could synthesize those two branches and come up with some written section that tries to bring all the different kinds of work together. And that's something that can be published in our proceeding report, so you can see it, evaluate it qualitatively. And then the last point speaks to maybe the activism and service part of some of these goals. We thought of, if I understand correctly, some kind of record of service, number of service hours, or somebody, help me if I'm explaining this wrong, but if, for some students, hours of service is a requirement for graduation, so that could be tallied, that could be something that we can include in some kind of form. On the other hand, people doing research that pertains to specific communities that could just be bundled up and housed.
Thank you. When you talk about the record of service or the record of that section of it, did you think of a particular way to do that through a platform? Are you thinking of the idea that then service learning would first have to be incorporated in every institution that's part of RISE, or what did you have in mind to be able to do that and establish that for the entire RISE platform?
I think Victor mentioned like a form or some kind of
Like for the record of services. The group mentioned like the service hours, but sometimes the people go to the service hours and don't make nothing. So just make the hours for the record. So the idea is like make depend the grade of the student. Okay, so the bachelor students have the possibility to make an form of the experience in the community, or maybe like a research assistant to a graduate student or a professor. In case of graduate students, like make projects related with community issues.
So somehow I'm just thinking about the platform and I know we don't always have to standardize everything, but if we're talking about how do we measure this for all the participating institutions, how maybe developing a system where all institutions can successfully track and document the work that's done with the communities for the courses and for the different projects.
Yeah, so there should be like a common form with common terms and outputs that everybody's clear on. And so you can cross-evaluate between
Okay,
them.
so a common structure to track that and cross-evaluate. Okay, anything else? All right, thank you. Okay, so just to kind of sum up what I heard from this group, and I ask you some questions. The record of service, the glossary of terms, which might not be directly linked to how do we evaluate, how do we, to metrics, but it might be a way, and we were actually talking about this this morning when that conversation came up in the morning session. How do we at least make sure that we have a space where we have the different definitions for community, for resiliency, for whatever the term may be, based on the discipline. So it's not a matter maybe of finding the one definition of said term for the purposes of the rights platform, but rather being able to understand what those terms mean to different people and different disciplines. Okay? All right, so I have this list. And we have 9 minutes. And so we have 2 tasks. One is to make sure that what I have written down that I'm going to incorporate into the report is correct. And the other one is to identify our champion for this afternoon. Because as I mentioned, I'm not going to be able to be here in the afternoon. I have to get to the airport. So we have one possibility, one model, which is the model of let's work by regions and let's identify those key people who can be facilitators or mentors, and then they work directly with the facilitators or mentors in each institution that participates in the RISE platform. Those are the individuals who then work with the offices or departments that we have identified that can provide the direct service to the students, whether it is an international student affairs office, a general student affairs office, or whatever it may be. And that is where the facilitation of data collection also happens, both qualitative and quantitative, to then be able to track success and areas of improvement. Yes? Okay, and then we also have the recommendations of being able to track, document successfully in a kind of standardized way the service work that's being done in the institutions in different projects and courses, so that we can then track. Kind of, I see it like this is focusing, your proposal focuses more on individual facilitation or support for students, and yours focuses more on how do we know that we are doing work. Okay. I had to read, sorry. Oh, no. Okay, so you're not going to be able to see that because I don't have a password for it. This is crazy. So how do we know that we're meeting those university community partnerships and that the work that's being done in the classes and in the projects are successful? Okay. Does that sound like the 2 main ideas? Now, I will put that into the report. And we need to then decide, we need a volunteer. This sounds like the Hunger Games. A volunteer. So someone who's going to then represent this cohort to present the report. It's a simple report that basically has the deliverables and a little bit of an explanation for each day, because I cannot be there from 2 to 3:30. So who would like to do that? Probably, I would recommend that it's someone who's participated in the 3 days because then they can talk about the process. And volunteers, it could be more than one person, I guess. Come on. It's gonna be fun. Huh? Okay? Yeah?
I can't, I got a boss. I
Whatever.
might.
What time is it open?
From 2 to 3:30. So what you're doing is basically provide. You have to go to the airport too. Just reading the report. Just reading the report basically, which is this is our mission. The report just basically explains that we went through what I have decided to call a dialogic process. We went from individual reflections to group work, and then we came back to a discussion. And each day we follow that process to ensure that everyone had a space to participate, and then we collectively negotiated or made decisions on each of the deliverables. And it's just explaining, this is the mission statement from the perspective of the students. This is the list that we can no longer see because I don't have the password. And this is how we think we can carry that out, both for the university community work and for the support that students need, particularly students who are displaced after a disaster. It's simple, it's 2 pages. You don't have to read the whole thing, and I can send it to the person who's going
Is
to
it like
read
the slides? Are we reading from the info from the slides?
It's this document that I can put in there. It's just a 2-page document that has a little intro, the mission statement, the list that I showed you, the one that was on the slide, and then what we produced today, those 2 main recommendations. That's basically it. It's not a thesis, it's not like a full.
I feel like I could read it, but the thing is that I leave at 3. Like, my
Yeah.
plan is to be out by 3. If I can be the first person to stand up and read, I have no problem doing that.
Yeah, you probably could.
Yeah.
That's the most that I can do.
Okay, we'll talk to, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Anais is going to represent. Okay, thank you, Anais. All right, so again, I want to thank you for sharing this space with me. I have absolutely enjoyed working with you. I feel like I taught a little class or facilitated in this space. So I really look forward to continue seeing what really emerges from this conference, particularly from all of you. I truly believe that it is in the student cohort that we're going to see real change, because you will then advance to other positions after you graduate, and you are absolutely brilliant and conscious and willing to do the work that's required. So thank you very, very much. And Anais, I'll give you your email so I can include you in the email when I send this out, but it's going to be available. I'll have it. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Can we just thank
Yeah. I think we should take a picture of this. Yeah. We don't have the title of the thing anymore, but we can, wherever you'd like to.
Maybe
All the sticky notes. And today's sticky notes. And the posters. Grab something. session.
Yesterday,
Mira, me preocupa que-
and it was like, speaking of the devil, I was like, I want to do Hello?
Lo que pasa es que tiene que ser la persona a poner el paso para
Hello.
Yo vuelvo aquí.
Bien, ¿cómo está?
No, a mí me dijeron que ustedes están deshidratados.
¿Cómo es?
Estaban un poco deshidratados. Ah, yo creía que nadie estaba.
Auxiliary services.
Well, you want to say like, oh, like go back at 11:40 tonight.
Como de gente que hace programación.
You sound very calm. You sound like super serious.
You're like a special. So,
Well,
Bueno, Andrea hizo eso en Andrea hizo eso.
so I need to.
Mira, I think this was for us.
Okay, I'll see you tonight.
Bueno,
Okay, te amo. You have a good day. Bye. Mira, Sam. Dame un review de lo que nos resulta.
sí, mira. Ana, bueno, la próxima
Sí.
que vengan a hablar sobre mi drive. Mira, realmente yo lo que quiero
Ahora yo no
¿qué proceso? Como buscar la audición, individual al grupo y el grupo at large, el mission statement, day 1, day 2, what do we need? Aquí está dividido en como research and community work, and individual support. Esto es lo que hacer el trabajo con el liaison de la comunidad, y esto es lo que necesitamos como estudiantes que nosotros que venimos a estos host institutions. Entonces, pues lo que decimos es que we need to first do el freeze para prepararnos para entonces poder como que successfully carry out eso. Y en how do we measure it, ahora yo lo voy a arreglar, pero básicamente es como una vez vamos a crear esta estructura de personas que son los key people en las regiones en Estados Unidos que trabajan con las universidades de esas regiones y que esas personas identifiquen cuál es la oficina que le va a dar support. Y a través de esa oficina es que se recogen los datos para saber si se está llevando a cabo la actividad we need to successful or what do we need to improve.
Pero aquí yo lo voy, yo lo que realmente voy a hacer es leer, para que se lo computador
Va a estar puesto. No tienes que ver con tu computadora, va a estar puesto.
Ok.
No necesariamente tienes que leerlo todo. Yo te lo voy a enviar antes y tú lo miras. Tú decides si lo quieres leer todo. O si quieres como que, pero lo puedes leer, esto es como que 2 páginas. 2 páginas.
Sí, yo lo puedo.
Está bien.
Pero, o sea, cuando dice que lo vamos a tener puesto, es que lo vamos a tener puesto así.
Para que entonces la gente lo pueda ver.
Sometimes surprising.
Para que tú lo puedes tener también en la computadora o en un iPad o lo que sea.
Yeah, I didn't need it yesterday.
Ok, estoy un poco arrepentida de este proceso.
I had a
Bueno, si tú quieres buscar a otra persona que tú crees que pueda hacerlo, convencer a alguien más de hacerlo.
Es que toda esta gente no sé. ¿A qué hora tú te vas?
No sé, porque me voy con el en carpool con Design y Ramón Bueno.
¿Y ellos no te siguen?
No, porque no sé, no te vayas.
Send them my returns.
Pues mira, a convencer.
Interesting, you know,
Convencer a alguien.
¿Quieres hacer este trabajo en certificado?
take that class.
Porque yo pensaba que era más leer. Si era leer, yo lo leía, pero si va a estar en fuerte, como que yo no tengo los skills para estar
Es para
engaging
hacer
como tú engage
cosas
very
importantes.
I'm
I think it would be really, really, really cool to see.
I know, I agree, I agree. Esto es explicar lo que hicimos, okay? So we follow the process.
Yeah, you guys meditate.
Yeah.
After that, they selected the.
I remember the first, that was my first semester at ASU. I was like, they're meditating.
That
This
we follow
professor, I was
this to
like,
ensure that
what am I
it's
doing?
Yeah.
What the hell is this?
But
I thought it was
I
cool,
know.
though. I actually
These
really
were
liked
somehow
it.
incorporated.
But
by
at
the
the end of the semester, it's like,
students working individually on the guide. Entonces, como que esto fue individual work with guide questions.
I
For
like
each
that
deliverable and then move to
for
school
theory,
groups.
for
After
theory,
that,
that's right now.
after these discussions, each group presented their ideas and
Exactly.
recommendations. And these were used to generate deliverables. So, day one, the mission statement, ejemplo.
I'm walking like,
On day two, we work on what do we need to do. And that's to carry out the mission statement.
I'm walking
It's
like,
the list, okay, for research and community work and what is needed for
that is the
individuals.
most uncomfortable.
Okay?
His lecture.
So this
his
demonstrates that
lecture
the
on
bulk
how-
of work currently lies in developing
Those were the
discourse
best
support
lectures. That's what
and
he's
carrying
doing.
out the actions required before
Like
this
talking about
so that
power
afterwards,
and all this stuff.
this can be
Best
implemented.
papers on power.
O sea, el trabajo ahora es crear eso, asegurarnos que existe ese.
So I am
Y en el how do we measure, pues ahora yo lo voy a... Pero básicamente funciona más o menos igual que aquí. Como que, básicamente es como que, por individual work, ¿qué necesitamos? Pues la recomendación de que creemos esta estructura de este tipo y una oficina dentro de cada institución que es la que va a facilitar eso y recopilar los datos. Entonces, para community work, community and institutional engagement, una plataforma social, un listserv, donde se pueda ver
Eso lo había dicho.
lo que está haciendo.
Yo sigo pensando que una de las cosas que más me ha ganado en la cabeza fue la idea de hacer un monitoring and evaluation plan.
So you have
O
to pick
framework,
up cases.
monitoring and
I found it really
evaluation
difficult
framework.
because I didn't know what I was doing. But I didn't
Entonces,
know.
mi fecha de mirar, o sea, cómo tú puedes
And I
hacer
didn't understand material well enough
monitoreo
at
y
the time.
evaluación de estos proyectos. O sea,
Sí,
para mí
eso.
son proyectos de impacto
The way Mike's
en el área en que
is that you read a lot.
Sí, pero pues, cuando hablas de acuerdo,
bien
sí, no, yo creo que estaba bien chévere. Yo lo que espero es que siga, o sea, yo creo que estamos claros en esto, pero que no se convierta en algo
So there's
académico.
a lot. There's
Que
always.
sea como que no dices different. O sea, aquí hay algo, yo creo que
eso es
Que sí, que se lo pasa.
por eso cuando la secretaria la separó y cuando
Articles written by
cómo vamos a
other
definir términos
ASU.
que yo sé que son importantes, yo creo que
faculty.
la respuesta fue buena. Si nos ponemos a definir términos, no vamos a hacer aquí. O sea, pero sí es importante entender.
Because you get a lot of perspectives, you know, especially.
Porque es resistencia, es como que dime qué significa esto para ti.
There's only-
Y así, es que that's,
Eso es lo que yo quiero ver.
pero eso es lo que a mí me gusta del language.
I guess to teach them.
Pues eso puede ser bueno hacer un glossary. ¿De qué quieres
Pero más
separar?
que un
What's
glossary, que
sustainability?
sea
I
algo
took
que
it
sea
really well.
producido y que tú puedas ver desde qué punto de vista está hablando la persona, quién es esta persona, de dónde viene, para tú decir, oye, si yo voy a hablar con
But I
forestry,
think he should
¿cómo me
have
tengo que
yes.
referir a ellos? Si yo voy a hablar
Because
con
it's from his, you
¿cómo me
know,
voy a hablar con
even if
ellos?
he's
Porque una
trying.
palabra tiene 10.000 significados
Y no, y siguen generándose, siguen generando.
y luego de la
At the same time,
chaval como que la respuesta de la
se-
se sigue usando.
Eso ya está bien también. O sea,
Entonces, entonces se ha perdido el valor de la parte de la
bueno, y
palabra.
hay que problematizar el hecho de que tú estás hablando de resiliencia en Puerto Rico, and we're not.
you
O sea,
are,
Al contrario,
nosotros
somos-
hemos una cosa que no,
Sí.
pero es como
um,
que idealizar una cosa que no debemos idealizar.
lose part of.
Pero nuestro sistema,
Forward.
pero nuestro sistema de educación es resiliente. Porque tiene la habilidad de recuperarse
Recuperarse y
y de desenvolverse.
Pero lo que es que hay diferentes
And that is
niveles,
my
entonces, a los
final
cuales podríamos hacer
project.
análisis de
What is
resiliencia.
my set
¿De
perspective?
quién estamos
And
hablando con resiliencia?
how
Porque
was the
estamos
process
hablando de las
the
familias
sense
vicarias.
that changed?
Porque
bueno,
porque
claro.
mi vecino tiene una planta de gas a nivel supermercado y le tiró línea a mi casa, le tiró línea a la casa de otra gente.
I ended up using a sets framework.
Entonces, él tiene un pozo, un cabrón, un
Y
barrio.
entonces hablamos de, por ejemplo, solidaridad. Ah, pues tu vecino es solidario, pero pues
nosotros, mi mami estaba en casa,
To me, you know,
estaba cocinando, estaba manteniendo la cosa mientras entonces papi y yo nos montamos en casa, nos montamos para la brigada, nos montamos para la María, pero si mami no está en casa, cocinando y regresamos para la casa, nosotros llegamos a casa, no vamos a poder hacer las dos cosas a la vez.
nature.
Sí, no, no,
O sea,
no.
esos son los niveles de resiliencia.
And it's, there's a tree there, it's called nature. So we want to there's a forest.
Entonces, eso va a llegar a mí.
We're preserving. So to me, it's
Eso, dame tu email
you know what I mean?
para enviártelo cuando
There's no part of the
lo
plan.
envías porque eso lo voy a enviar a la persona que
You
tiene que...
decide,
Yo confío que tú vas a ser
if
súper
governments,
mejor.
you know,
De
where,
verdad, hablas muy bien.
or if not intentional.
Sí, yo creo que sí.
But they're natural in a sense that.
AD,
But
RO,
otherwise, like, to keep it all part of it.
arroba, dame tu número por si acaso.
Sí,
I
sí,
see the process like a little different because I think
Sí.
the technical
8642.
domain is like a part of
¿Ya te vas a
the
bajar?
social domain.
No, yo voy a bajar ahora,
Is-
voy
is
a
the
ver con el
one
informe y
that
eso, yo voy a estar en el boardroom hasta las 2.
the
Nosotros nos vamos a las 2.
teams,
Que nos vamos a ir,
Like,
que empiezan.
Convocatoria de
share,
lista.
share or whatever.
Ok.
And the ecology
Ah, pues yo
is
estoy con-
the